Hi, I'm Josh, welcome to a new video, and today I'll be doing the recap of the albums I listened to in July. First album I listened to this month was The Kick Inside by Kate Bush, and I just recently discovered her thanks to Stranger Things. Her music really interested me. So I went ahead to check her albums in the order they were released, starting with this one. And something I find cool about it is that I found almost every aspect I've loved about Kate Bush's music in the first song of it, Moving. It has amazing vocals with a theatricality that makes her performances wonderful. It also has different, unique sounding music with the incredible production 70s records had. I can say very confidently that the 70s are my favorite decade of music, and a big reason why is because of albums like this. Because during that time, albums were pictured as a whole thing, with the idea of what the whole album should sound or make you feel like. Making it an experience every song adds something to, and in this case, that was done fantastically. Listening to this album was like going on a trip to a different dimension. It was so immersive and I got really into it. By the end of the album, I felt like I had to connect again with planet Earth. And I mean, with songs like Strange Phenomena, I don't think you can avoid it. Plus, this album has such a unique sound that even when it's 42 years old, it still feels fresh. And I think that's because this record was very innovative for the time, and it definitely kept that characteristic for the decades to come. It has a lot of the elements that will become super prominent in 80s music, especially 80s movie scores. There's many times where the music was giving me vibes of E.T. the Extraterrestrial, for example. It was ahead of its time, that's for sure, and I find cool the sort of musical bridge it represents, because you can hear a lot of influences and trends from the late 60s to early 70s. Sometimes I got a lot of Bowie vibes and very solo Pink Floyd ones too, along with all these touches that I just mentioned that kind of hinted at where music will go in the following years. I've never listened to anything like this album, but I do have listened to a lot of artists that were definitely influenced by it, at least by the Kate Bush style during this era. Bjork is the one that immediately comes to mind because it's undeniable that her singing was super influenced by Kate Bush. Love this album, so surprisingly polished and made sure for a debut one. Extraordinary way to start a career. My favorite song on it was Strange Phenomena. Now I also listened to Lionheart, Never Forever, The Dreaming, Hounds of Love, and The Essential World by Kate Bush too. But I can't remember much about them, mostly because I wasn't paying much attention to life during that week and I have sort of like gun in my head, but I did enjoy them a lot. I'll probably do a video talking about her entire discography one day, so when I do, I'll dive more deeply into them. Next album we have is Morning Rise by Opeth. Now, I know I said I would listen to this album like 4 recaps ago, but I finally did. And once again, this album confirms that between Orchid and Ghost Reveries, all they did were masterpieces. And I seriously don't understand how were they able to make such insanely amazing music in such short periods of time for over a decade. It blows my mind. But focusing on the album, one of the aspects I want to highlight about it are Michael Ackerfeld's vocals. Cause the growliness they had here was probably on its best form ever. You can feel it in your throat. That's a real brutal growl. You can definitely notice an improvement from the one he had in Orchid. And I can't recall another Opeth album where the vocals were so evil through the entire length of it. And this album was also the one where they definitely found their sound. I mean, since Orchid, they had a very unique one, but I think it's way better put together here, more developed, more cohesive. The black and death metal elements feel more connected to the acoustic and progressive ones, making them a single thing where they work really good together without feeling that separated from each other. Plus, they really improved their songwriting skills, allowing them to structure songs in a better way, where every section of them, aside from being excellently written, helps to develop the song. This album barely repeats sections. The songs are constantly unfolding, and they constructed them in such a flawless way, you'll never feel the songs getting stuck or anything. It's always progressing. I love this album. So dark, evil, brutal, yet so pretty and gorgeous. Cause here I found some beautiful moments I definitely wasn't expecting, like the main riff of the first section of The Night and the Silent Water. Easily one of the prettiest distorted riffs I've heard. I was feeling such a melancholy inside. I loved it, and that was definitely my favorite song on the record. Really like Morning Rise. The only thing about it is that some songs were longer than they should. And I feel the last one was very unfitting. Third album we have is also by Opeth, Watershed. This may be the less memorable Opeth album I've heard. Because for example, Incauda Venenum was in my opinion so bad I can't remember wishing it ended. And Damnation, in my first listen of it, I thought it was super boring. But while this record was good, it didn't make me feel much. Wasn't impressed, but I didn't dislike it either. I did enjoy a lot the first two songs, Coil and Heir Apparent, but after that, I really can't recall anything that caught my attention. I think I should give another listen to it though, don't know if I will soon. My favorite song on it was Heir Apparent. Next album we have is Portales by Tiago PZK. This was a surprise. I wasn't expecting anything from it honestly, but I ended up having such a blast with it. It's such a diverse, fresh, interesting combination of genres that I can safely call it the most refreshing urban music I've ever heard, with songs ranging from Latin trap to reggaeton to pop punk. All of them delivered with a very spacey sound. Like, take a look at Nadie Más. Music and production on this album really make you feel like the cover art of it, cause that song literally sounds like you're going through portals in outer space. I was impressed, cause it's an achievement making a song feel and sound that way. Doesn't feel like it was recorded in a studio, cause it's much bigger than that, and you'll find that everywhere in the album. Fantastic production, impressive to say the least. Here I also found some of my favorite reggaeton bangers in a while. Salimos de Noche and Flow de Barrio being the most outstanding ones. First one has a really nice beat, excellent performances, and a really nice chemistry between Tiago and Trueno, while Flow de Barrio is a really powerful banger where the energy and lyrics from the old reggaeton style get combined with modern touches of the genre, and I'm all for it. Tiago delivered an incredible record that easily became one of my favorite ones of the month, and I have no idea what my favorite song on it is. It's between Flow de Barrio and Entre Nosotros, and the next album we have is actually a mixtape, I Love Life Thank You by Mac Miller. The first mixtape I've heard from him, now that they put it in Spotify. And if you follow this series, you'll know I've really liked every single work I've heard from him. Circles is definitely becoming one of my favorite albums, so I really wanted to listen to this one, and once again, I really liked it. It's weird, because so far I've listened to his music backwards, starting from Circles and then going back from there. So I had never listened to his more rap-centered days, and I was a bit scared, cause I didn't want my expectations on it to mess with me, so that's why I hadn't checked anything else. But I actually liked a lot this mixtape. First, it had amazing beats from the very first song, to the Scoop to the Heaven, to incredibly pretty ones in All This and All That. I was definitely impressed by the majority of the music here. Loved most of it, and definitely enjoyed all of it. Plus, the mixtape has excellent production that made it a really good listen. His rapping was so good. First, his voice was so unique and charismatic, instantly recognizable and full of personality. You can tell it's him within a second, and he combined this characteristic with a very relaxed, flowy flow. He sounds so natural while rapping, and he did it with such a clarity that allows you to understand every single word without much effort. The sad thing is, sometimes the lyrics do get really dumb, and it personally saddens me hearing him talking about drugs and other vices the way he did here. In an album called like this, and knowing they were the cause of his death, it's hard for me to ignore that. I super like this mixtape. I had some doubts, but I do think it's a member of the Standard Club, and my favorite song on it was All This. Now, as always, and before going to the last one, the ones I don't have much to say about. Humbug by Arctic Monkeys, Emails I Don't Send by Sabrina Carpenter, Jack in the Box by J-Hope, Gemini Rights by Steve Lacy, and Trenza by Mon Laferte. And talking about her, the last album we have is Mon Laferte Volumen 1 by obviously Mon Laferte. I had never formally listened to her music before, cause I didn't know if her aesthetic fit her music, and I didn't want to be disappointed with that. The only thing I had listened from her was the Nothing Else Matters cover she did for the Metallica Blacklist, which I loved, and it's among my favorite ones of it. But that's about it. Some days ago, I listened to Tu Falta de Querer for the first time, and it gave me chills like no other song had in such a long while. Loved the freaking song, and I definitely wanted to check her albums now. So I went with this one, and I'm surprised by it. I love how she creates songs based around Latin and Hispanic music elements or genres, but puts them together with a similar style and structure to the ones pop and rock music have. Her songs, whether they are joyful, nostalgic, or straight up sad, have such a flawless way to make you feel those emotions through the music. Like, Amor Completo was able to make me feel a knot in my throat less than a minute into the song. And how would you not feel the desperation Tormento transmits? It's impressive how emotional the music on this album is. And through it, she delivers some incredibly heartfelt, powerful performances. Like, she's absolutely feeling those lyrics, which by the way I find super smart, poetic, a little melodramatic, yet awesome and sincere. She's giving it all, and that's the way she performs, because I went to check a couple of her live performances, and it's amazing how she's able to transmit the same power and energy live too. I seriously cannot avoid being touched by it. Also, I want to mention she has a beautiful voice that she knows how to use in a brilliant way, making it raspy, high or low, calm, depending on what each section needs. I really love this album. It was everything I was expecting her music to be. The only thing I didn't expect was it touching me so deeply. And my favorite song is by far Tu Falta de Querer. And that's about it. This month I listened to 18 albums. It was a very decent month with some pretty listens. Over here I'll put the ones that made it into the Standard Club. I think they're pretty good ones you should check. So yeah, as always, I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to check my first album Downwards if you haven't yet. It's available everywhere, but you'll have the Spotify link in the description for you to go check it. And I really appreciate if you do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I've been waiting for years, hoping there's still a chance that you'll come visiting someday. Don't care if the cars are rusty, the wall is black, you can still pretend it's fun to live for a last time.